All right, Sanjayji, maybe 30 more seconds and then we can begin.
Sure. So good evening to everybody. My name is Sanjay Patwadan. I'm one of the faculty associates, and with us is Gauravji and Ushaji here as well. And welcome to you all for session 18. Really exciting session, very deep, and Gauravji will make it easy to comprehend and palatable for us. So basically we'll start with the prarthana, and of course I'll request Gauravji to start the session. Welcome everybody.
Namaskar and welcome back from the brief break. It's been a wonderful few weeks of a lot of holidays, both Hindu and of course Western holidays. So good to see everyone back. We're going to begin with the opening prayers, of course, Sahana Bhavatu. So for that, please situate yourself. If you're sitting, please sit comfortably. Sit with the back straight. You can close your eyes now. Sit with the back straight, the back, neck and head in a straight line. Close your eyes gently and relax the expression on your face. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly. Bring your attention to your breath. And as you breathe in, travel with your breath into the belly. Let the belly expand. And as you breathe out, let go. Breathing into the belly, let the belly expand. Breathing out, simply let go and relax. Let go of all your thoughts. Let go of all your preoccupations. Let go of all unfinished business outside our time together. Feel a sense of lightness, letting go. Bring your palms together in Namaskar Mudra. Pressing the palms together gently, touching the fingers together gently, gently touching the back of the thumbs into the chest. Bring your attention to the hollow space between the palms. Pay attention to any sensation, any vibration, anything here between the palms at your heart center. Keep the attention here. We're going to chant Om 3 times and then the opening prayers, Sahana Bhavatu. Exhale completely. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Inhale. Inhale and chant. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Saha Viryam Karvavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavitpishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take your arms behind you, grab your right wrist with your left hand and breathing in, stretch. Breathing out, bend forward in a deep sense of surrender. Come back up, breathing in, release your hands, rub your palms together to generate some heat. And then gently cup your eyeballs with the hollow of your palms to transfer that heat. And then blink while your eyes are still shaded. Massage the face and the neck, and then blinking, open your eyes and pull your palms back like an open book. Namaskar. Namaskar and welcome back. It would be nice to have everyone's videos turned on because this is a participatory session. It's good to see everyone and good to come back together to the class. I hope everyone had a good break from class and you caught up on homeworks, which is Ushaji's primary concern right now. All right. So, Dr. Saab, with your permission, I'll summarize for a couple of minutes what the classes were, just as a reminder. And then I have a few questions to ask people before we get into the presentations. You know, so evidently we are the Hindu Community Institute, and what we're teaching is being taught from a Hindu perspective, and as a source for our inspiration and as a single source for all our philosophical ideas, we turn to the Bhagavad Gita because it's one concise source for a good majority of the ideas that exist in the broader Hindu spectrum. As we are preparing, we're in the back half of the course, as we're preparing to become counselors of Hindu tradition, it's very important to understand how, what the Gita is, where it stands in the context, and also how to think of some of the less known concepts in the Bhagavad Gita as a way of, one, building a taste for this practical philosophy, and also to see how some of these ideas apply to our life. Because then we are able to engage other people with either our stories or stories from other people's lives, or of common people, and so on. So these classes, 3 of them, were in that context. Annayaji is a wonderful speaker, and I'm sure you enjoyed his class because he explains very lucidly and in very clear terms, very directly, what the philosophy is and where the Bhagavad Gita sits in the broader context of Hindu philosophy. And of course, he discussed the difference between, in the Hindu tradition, of being spiritual and being religious are 2 different things in the spectrum, and so on. I also did the class on dhyana, because often I'd like to emphasize that the Bhagavad Gita is not merely a karma yoga text. It is, of course, the prime karma yoga text, but it doesn't only talk about karma yoga. The Bhagavad Gita talks very eloquently and very directly about bhakti yoga, an entire chapter, and also on dhyana, which is a very essential practice described in the Gita, in the middle of the battlefield. And it's often overlooked in modern Hindu schools. So in modern Hindu schools of philosophy and the gurus, there are not many karma yoga schools, of course, we know that. But in the other schools, there are other religious schools that are, the guru might be from a particular lineage with a particular deity in mind, or a philosophical school, in which case they're likely Vedanta schools. They tend to emphasize philosophy over other things. But as practiced and as described in the Bhagavad Gita, these are not distinct and separate practices. You don't just do bhakti, you don't just do karma yoga, you don't just do jnana yoga. All of these are intertwined because the experience of one enriches the understanding of the other, and so on. Because without bhakti, there is no understanding of the richness and sweetness of the tradition. Without jnana, where is the viveka, right? Where is the viveka that will come from just that direct observation? And in order to observe directly that whatever is going on, an ability to sit quietly and just stare out of one's own eyes is important, and which is where dhyana sits in. So the practice of dhyana is an essential practice. It is directly from the Bhagavad Gita. The practice that we went through is directly from the verses. It's not, we didn't cover anything outside or any innovation in the subsequent 5,000 years. It's very directly from the Gita itself. And so I hope you had an experience of that. When we look at, as a counselor of Hindu tradition, we're going to be engaging with people in all situations in life. A lot of them will be professionals that are stressed out about work. And a lot of the advice they receive from the internet, and it's very popular these days, is meditation. So they will come to you and you will tell them to meditate. So I'd like to encourage you to build your own meditation practice in order to understand what the practice is and why it creates a very open space in the mind and in the heart, and why that is important for professionals. So it's an essential practice, especially for modern times. And I hope if you hadn't meditated before, I hope you got a little taste of it. It's very scientific. It's not mumbo jumbo, and everything that has been described in it can be described and understood in science as well as from direct experience. But it is the direct experience that we're interested in. The science is mumbo jumbo. If I tell you about dopamine, serotonin, I mean, that's great. It's good to know intellectually, but it doesn't make any difference to your experience. But experiencing that openness in the heart is what matters. Experiencing that clarity of thought is what matters. And a personal practice of meditation is a very rich and rewarding practice that I highly recommend everyone to follow. In addition to your bhakti practices, in addition to your investigation of jnana, and in addition to your commitment to karma yoga, these are not separate. So those are the classes that we covered, and that is the discussion we're going to have with this. Dr. Patwardhan, I'd like to turn it over to you. Dr. Patwardhan is a doctor. He's a CHT from a previous cohort and a wonderful gentleman, and he has been working on his research, continuing Om Dollar project on quality of life, especially as relates to ashramas. So Dr. Saab, over to you.
Thank you, sir. And again, welcome everybody to this really exciting session. And what I thought is, please, as you all present, designated member of the group, then please introduce yourself and please mention the group name, and would like to see a quick summary and then your presentation. And again, 3 to 5 minutes worth of presentation will give everybody an opportunity to talk about it. And then certainly we can then hand over back to Gauravji, and then we'll go from there. So please welcome again, everybody. And whosoever desires to start, either numerically or by name wise, certainly we can do that.
I can start.
Thank you, Anjana ji.
Thank you. So I am from US group number 3. And we as a group, we have Lalita ji, Rita ji, Radha ji, and I think Sanjay, right? Sanjay ji, who was not present, of course. And we just did discuss the videos, and we had some inputs from everybody in the group. And Lalita ji's input was that, she really liked the thing about binding desires, that she think, was a also, she mentioned that Gauravji's meditation was quite intense, because she hasn't been practicing it. So she thought she needs more practice, in that to understand, how it really affects you. Overall, she thinks that it was relevant, educational. She really liked it. And then Rita ji has been, studying Gita for quite a long time. Her dad gave her Bhagavad Gita a long time ago, probably 45 years ago. And she does try to apply a lot of wisdom from Gita. And she really, every time she reads, she finds some, different layer to it, kind of discovers that. And then Radha ji's perspective was that in their life, and she has been studying Gita for a long time as well, but she would like to know more info and explanation on deities and God and goddesses, because in our group we have people from different countries. Lalita ji and Radha ji are from different countries, so and they group feel like they need more kind of knowledge assets, so that they can refer or have a little bit deeper understanding of everything that we are talking or we are learning. We really find it really good. All the videos were very relevant to, to become a counselor. Basically, we need to know all these, kind of topics. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm wondering if, thank you, Anjana ji. I'm wondering if you could react by just raising your hand or don't raise your hand or somehow clap or something. But if you had sat through the meditation, I'd like to see how many people did and what your reaction was. Not now, you can type that into the chat box and I'd like to listen in on your feedback. Sanjay ji, back to you.
Yeah. So thank you, Anjana ji. And again, this is really important questions, and we'll do what we can to answer all of them. Now, we'll please put them in the chat box, and then of course on WhatsApp as well, and then we'll get back to you. So absolutely, thank you so much. So Anjana ji started this, so please, the next person, please.
Namaste, everyone. This is Nagesh. I'm belonging to the group number 1 in US. I'm still actually working right as I speak to you all. I did actually go through all the videos, and I have given the written tips to Geeta, my wife. She's going to basically cover the details. And I just wanted to share a couple of things regarding the different gods that have been mentioned in the video by Sri Annayaji. I think the perspective with which we see God is basically in the physical form, which is true to every individual's belief. So every individual may have their own understanding of God in a physical form. It is like if we try to give a quick comparison between how various types of buildings are being constructed. It could be a hut, it could be a multi-storied building. They are all built with the same ingredient that is coming out of earth. So all the buildings, they are all part of earth, excepting that the shape, the content, the mixture, the quality is different. But it is still coming from the same earth. So the concept of different gods is one's own belief, and it is everyone has the right to have one's own belief. But the very concept of God is just unending, infinite light. That is the basic concept of God. I just wanted to chip in this piece of information that I could think of myself. So I'll hand it over to Geeta, who is going to continue with this conversation.
Thank you, Nagesh.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Yes, actually, he's working, so he wanted to jump in. I'm replacing him now. My group, US from US and number 1 group, and in our group, Seema ji and Nishita ji and Lakshmi ji were there, and we're unable to actually meet online because everybody sent their opinions. Yes, so I am just representing their opinions. According to them, they were unable to. They enjoyed the first video by Anayaji, and of course Gauravji's videos also about the meditation, and Anaya's videos are very good. That's what they are very knowledgeable. They are very informative also, and they said they did not understand how this is applicable to how Bhagavad Gita is applicable to face loneliness and That is their question. So it is, I am putting it to Gauravji. And according to my opinion, I really enjoyed the video of Annayaji. It's a really very informative about all the Vedas and the nature of the God, how he has mentioned this one. And it is the ultimate God is nothing but Satchitananda. And so many things are, the quotations he said, they are, everything is pre-written, but we can rewrite by our prayer. I like it. And his quotation one, best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. That's also really impressive. And he said, itihasa. So itihasa, it is nothing but indeed it was. So like that, so many informative sessions he gave, informative things he gave, difference between church and the temple, and how, Vedas, it is a Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, Upanishads and Agamas. So it's a really informative video. I really love that one. And who am I? And the real meaning, Jnani Tvatmaiva Mevatam. It was really impressive one. And his Karma Yoga. That is nothing but why we have to, I think it is again, if I remember the Gauravji's video last time, he taught in that one about the immortality in the opinion of that one in Gita. So lots of things I really liked in Anaya's video very deeply. And next Gauravji's video, it's a no word, we don't need to tell again. Really I enjoyed the meditation, about the meditation Gauravji was talking, and what is the, how we have to apply Bhagavad Gita in our life, how we have to, when we are feeling loneliness, why we have to grieve, all those things, it is really helpful. And guided meditation, yes, definitely, I really enjoyed that one. I really felt that one also. So I really want to, get more information about that one also. Yes, how we have to detach ourselves, how we have to, and to get this one, how we have to detach to get desireless. That one also, I like that one. One more thing, Gauravji was almost reminding about Lilliput's in the Gulliver's Travels while telling, I really love that one. Yes, everything is really, really informative. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Gauravji, will you be elaborating that now or later on the question?
I'm writing them down, so
Oh,
we'll listen to everyone then. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Geetaji.
Thank you.
Can someone follow Geetaji?
Yeah, Sanjay ji, I am Umesh from India. Namaste, everyone. Gaurav ji, namaste. Kailash ji, namaste. We are Bharti ji and myself, two people from India. So I am representing. We spoke on this. The first video narrated by and guided by Mr. Anaya Deshpande. It was an excellent one. He has given details of Hindu scriptures nicely in short time and in a short video. So if anyone is not aware of, he has classified religious texts, spiritual texts, given Vedas, again classification of Vedas like Karma Kand, Agams, and the Dharma Shastra. Basically, what is difference between religious text and Dharma Shastra? Dharma Shastra who tell us about what do's and don'ts of our life, like Manu Smriti, Prasara Smriti, etc. And spiritual texts, those are who tell us about what is life, who we are, where from we came, and what is the concept of moksha, which is only in Hinduism in the whole world. So that is there. Our Upanishads, which are also called Vedanta, Gita, and Brahma Sutra, plus whatever our Darshan Shastras, which are 6 plus 9 darshans, which are unique in the among the all religions of the world. So he explained very nicely and about spiritual sculptures like Upanishads, Gita, how it is affecting our life, and which tell us about what is Purush, Prakriti, and Ishvara, classification among them. What is the concept of God? Actually, God is the the flow of energy, or who is present everywhere, omnipresent. So it is a very in short time excellent idea clarified, which is not possible to understand so easily, but yes, it was a very good explanation he has given, especially what is the goal of human life, our desire, sukh, dukh concept, and what is swarg, what is karma yoga. So it was a nice video. In second video, Gaurav ji, as usual, he represent in unique way the guided dhyana he taught. It's so simple and easy to follow, although there are so many things, so many ways in, if we Google or we see so many people teaching in different way, some vipassana, something, but yeah, Gaurav ji in a simple and easy way he given the idea, and it is very easy to understand also to follow. I myself enjoyed it. And further, he has quoted Gita's chapter 6, 11 to 14 verses, chapter 8, 12 to 13 verses, wherein Lord Krishna is telling about the yoga. In fact, actually, Gita is not only the scripture of philosophy or spirituality, but also about the yoga. What is yoga? So Lord Krishna is saying in which place we should practice yoga, what should be our asana, and how we should sit. Everything it is there in chapter 2 and 3, especially verses 20, 21, 27, 28, which shows our the eternity of soul. Soul never dies. Again, what is the dominic nature of the person, and what is door to hell, like chapter 16. So Kam, Krodh, Lobh, actually, and what is the definition of Sthita Pragya? So it is explained, and in summary Gaurav ji has given again the most covered and the important thing, what is loneliness and what is conflict, how it arises, which is the main problematic area of today's life, in fact. So actually, when we are lonely, when we are disconnected from the Brahman or God, when we feel God is everywhere, we are connected with, so there is no loneliness in our life. So Gaurav ji has explained in nice way and in simple way. It's easy to understand in shortest time, actually. And third one, there was also one presentation on about Vedas in pictures, which was also nicely classifying what are our shastras, which are our shastras, and what are their different types. So it was a very good learning, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Meshji. That was really nice. So perfect. So next group, please.
I'll go for ANZ Group 9.
Thank you.
There were 3 of us who met. The 4th person just contributed online. At the end of our discussion, we kind of decided meditation was really important. A couple of us didn't have much experience in it, but we felt we needed more practice on it. The talk by Anilji was really good, was very clear. There was just a bit of discussion we had on consciousness and jiva. And I think Nirpama ji has posted a question online about that. So I won't go into that. And yeah, and the other person who online who commented, he was, he felt that he didn't agree with God having no form. His understanding was that he after listening to the talk, he kind of disagreed on it. And I'm not sure if he's going to be posting his question online because we didn't get to talk to him. Yeah, so that's our take on it. Yeah, thank you.
Ushaji, he's not here. This is Nirupama. But
Okay.
we can just, if you have his question,
Yeah.
the one he put in our group chat, group 9 chat, if you can just post it, that would be good. Thank
Okay,
you.
and I'll do that. Okay, I'll post what he had given to us. I'll post it online.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Morning, everyone. Actually, my name is Arvi. I'm from Group 9. I was the one who
Yes.
posed the question. I'll
Okay.
just,
Oh,
just
sorry.
share 2 minutes of what my thoughts are. So I've taken lessons from Bhagavad Gita because Bhagavad Gita is a very complex book and we need someone to teach. I'm not a very smart person, so I needed a teacher to teach me about its understanding and what it actually states. So one of the analogy that I like to give is when we refer to God, is like how we approach, say, a biryani. So some people, have the capability to, when they smell biryani, they think, okay, this is biryani. Biryani is based on the smell. But as you study more about biryani, then later on, you know what's the biryani's texture like. So you know the smell and the texture. But as you study more and you have more realization, finally you will realize that it smells, it tastes, its texture, and also, how it smells like. So some people may view God as just a matter of light. Some people may view God as Paramatma sit in our heart, and some people may view Lord as Bhagavan who has a form. So I respect everyone's belief, but I honestly believe that it's written in the Bhagavad Gita that all our actions, including prayers, must be followed by knowledge. So that's my input, and so I've been studying Bhagavad Gita with a teacher for quite some time. And also, when it comes to meditation, what the purpose of meditation is to make sure that our mind is peace so that we can focus on the Lord. That's the purpose of meditation. Because at the end of the day, why do we need a peaceful mind? Ultimate destination is to approach so that we can think about the Lord. But even Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna, I can't control my mind. I can maybe even control the wind. And that's where Krishna says, if you want to focus on me with a clear mind, you have to practice. That's it. Thanks for me.
Well said, Arviji. Thank you very much for your input. And this is the period of the renaissance of Sanatanis, right? So every thought counts. So thank you so much for contribution. I would request the next speaker, please. Thank you.
Ayom, namaste. My name is Mahalakshmi. I can go next. I represent the US cohort group 2. This is the first time, it's a blessing. This is the first time ever that our group could not meet. Both Adeji and Ratnaji were busy, but they're always very active, and I missed meeting with them before this, but I believe Adeji is here and he's listening in. But so bear with me, these questions are just mine, but I'm happy to. I don't even want to go into trying to summarize the whole gamut of things that happen. So I'll just go quickly over the 3 sections, the 3 videos in terms of what we gathered and what I gathered and any questions or suggestions that I have, if that's okay. Like all my classmates said, and so, as did the seniors said from the QA session that was up there, it was just a huge content area that was very succinctly put by Anaya ji in that 1.5 hours or so. And the flow was really awesome. And for an average seeker like me, who has gone through years of listening to Vedanta lectures and all of the gathering, I just felt like it was all like condensed and put in such a beautiful form right there. So I won't even go over all of his schematics, his delineation of the definitions between religious versus scriptural text versus the relationship between God, me, and the world. All of that, every single one of them was literally like, for me, a summary of everything I have seen and heard so far, maybe not completely internalized, but put in such a beautiful way. That said, I also pulled back to see how it connects to what I'm here for. And for that reason, I will concur with my group 1 classmates who had the question of the topic. So the topic, at least in Moodle, Anaya ji's 500, Hindu 500 is said as Bhagavad Gita for loneliness and dispute. So right from the beginning, even I was searching for that all over the place. And yes, in the overall picture, I can see that connection, but I think for counselors, it'll be nice if that was handled as a separate chunk or with specific references to that, smaller tips and guidance, that would be useful, or change the title on this. But that's very useful. I think that's something we need. So I concur with that. One thing, Anayaji is not here, but one thing that resonated with me in terms of curiosity, he expressed and discussed death in a very, very open way, and something that to make this Vedanta go through us to feel it, ultimately that has to be understood in that way. But he particularly alluded to the fact that this is something that children have to be exposed to, and he did say at a particular age. So again, this may not be useful as for the whole cohort as such, but I have a vested interest because I teach 11th graders who are 16 and 17-year-olds every Sunday, and it's Vedanta related, it's scriptural classes. So I would be very curious to see how that can be done, or if there are any special tips or any things, if we can afford that luxury, if it makes sense to many people. But yeah, that was something I was really curious about. And then moving on to, again, all said and done, it was just amazing. That whole 1.5 hours was super engaging. Moving on to Bhagavad Gita and Dhyana, Gauravji, just, yeah, thorough, clear, engaging, thorough, because it handled every aspect of dhyana for the average seeker. Clear because there were specific pointers, and somebody has mentioned this before. Gauravji's voice, your voice is just conducive to all kinds of lectures, but even more so for this dhyana section where one had to pause and think about the content a little bit more, and engaging because you threw in a solid 25-minute practice session. That was just really, really important and nice as a seeker, even though I've gone through different meditation sessions and I've struggled through it. Sitting through that entire section with you was very, very engaging, and also encouraging, because it could be done. And it was, at least after the 15th minute is when I got distracted, and I was like, wow, 15 minutes is solid time that went by. And then the rest of it was another 10 minutes at least. And it just worked well. And like Gauravji pointed in that video, that yeah, it may be disturbing for the little of the ringing of the bell or the little interruption through the voice, but I still consider myself a beginner in dhyana, and so it was very helpful for me. I needed that. Otherwise, either I might have gone to sleep or I might be worried about the pain in the leg. So it was very good. You also alluded to the house and the winds and all of that, which is essential for meditation. And so it was really good. One little question, Gauravji, from there, you had said if time permitting, you will, especially as counselors, you said that you will help us or understand the subtle difference between dhyana, meditation, and mindfulness. I don't think there was enough time there, and mindfulness is a term and a concept that's used so much in counseling and the mental health section a lot. So it'll be nice for us to hear about that. And it was a great session. And then the last concluding 30-minute session on Bhagavad Gita and applications in life. Again, nothing much to add other than the fact that they were useful. I was especially grateful that so many of the Bhagavad Gita shlokas that are not really highlighted a lot, you brought it to the forefront to give us, the connection between that and life. And really, I want to actually go back and look at it again, because often being such a huge text, and at least myself, I can speak for myself, not giving as much time that it deserves and I need. It was really nice to make the connection between those verses that you very meticulously took beautiful selections for us to go through. And that was really good. And at the end, you concluded with the little tips for counselors on, being familiar with Puranic stories, just to connect to the person. Ultimately, the goal is to connect to the person that we possibly can be of service to help in terms of being a CHT. And that was a good reminder for me, because you said about why it's important to, have our own takeaways and our own affections and our own connections to Puranic stories or things like that. And You also briefly touched about Bhagavad Gita and loneliness. I would like to see a little bit more about that if possible. Again, I know this is being totally greedy, but really that can be a section on itself, like you had mentioned in the video. So that's pretty much for all of that. Overall, I wanted to just say that the QA session that you folks uploaded into Noodle, that was also very helpful so that we can keep our questions here relevant so we can get the most out of that. And like one of our other classmates mentioned, I believe it was Umeshji, that Vedanta in pictures, if that little presentation, incredible. I just like totally love it because I'm very much this visual learner and I like color coding and the separation of things. And I was even thinking if somebody wants to do it, it can become a coffee table book for a reference for somebody to go over through life like a manual, like a Bible, so to say, you know. It's really done very well. And yeah, it might be overwhelming initially, but I think once we hear things from different places and then you want to connect back, it's really nice. And that's pretty much it. Sorry if I took more than 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Mahalakshmi. That's what this is all about, right? So it's not only critiquing what we see on the videos, but to comment on that. So this is what it is all about. So thank you so much. And it's a collective learning. So thank you.
I just want to jump in for one quick second on this Vedanta for Videos business. I think I talk about this all the time. This has been a project I've been working on for many years now, too many years. Essentially, this is most of the teachings that I'm doing on the Gita are from this mind map that I've made. Basically, this is a framework I made to explain pretty much all the classes that I'm doing are a subset of some of these things over here. So it's been my life project to convert some of these ideas into courses, classes, training material. Some of these are parables, some of these are examples, some of these are shlokas. So that's the way I visually remember and understand. I have a printout of this exact thing on the wall right behind the computer. And one more thing I wanted to show you, just so to agree with all the visual learners out there, is on the wall behind me. Over here you're seeing, right? That's actually Bhagavad Gita printed on the wall. So what you're seeing here, just so you see right here, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, all the way to 18, because it turns out that I can't remember things. As a child, I was not taught to memorize Sanskrit shlokas. So because of that, I can remember shlokas, but I want to know all of them. I want to remember all the Gita, because it turns out you can make connections like this Asha Pash, right? You can make connections to other ideas elsewhere, but you have to see everything together. So I struggled with this problem for many years, and then I said, well, there's only one way to solve it. It's to see the entire Gita at one place. And then there's no print version of the Gita like this. So I actually had to format it myself. I had to print a custom version and laminate it. It took many tries, but I finally got a version of the Gita that I can actually stick to the wall. And now I can remember, now that I'm memorizing chapters, I can go, just vertically down the list. But more importantly, I can now draw connections. If you've seen the movie Gajani, so Gajani style, I can draw connections between words here, here, and here, because now I can see it all at one go. So that's how I'm trying to visually see it. Again, because as a child, I was not trained to memorize, and that's my loss. But I try to make up for it by visualizing everything. So I wanted to respond to Jayanti, to what you were saying, Mahaji. Jayanti, your hand is raised. Sorry. Jayanti, you
can I go next?
Hanji, please. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm representing Group 5 of ANZ. Unfortunately, none of us met this week because we have the long school holidays as well as 2 long weekends. So that may be a reason. So what I'm saying would probably be what I feel, not from the group as such. I don't want to repeat what everybody has said, but I do concur and I have positive feedback just as they do. I wanted some clarification and wanted to make one comment as well about what Gauravji said at the beginning of this session about the 3 yogas. I was reminded of Adi Shankaracharya's Bhaja Govindam. So even though he is better known as a propounder of Jnana Yoga, he does say Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. So he propounds bhakti as well. So I don't think that 3 yogas are, somewhat that we have to, give them a 1, 2, 3, or they probably stand in their own way. It depends on us which path we want to follow more than the other. Regarding the Gita, the lecture was very good. I was reminded of the session 2 lecture by Vijay Kapoorji, because there are all these reiterating messages, and for the meditation by Gauravji, there was Swaminiji's lecture in session 14 and your own lecture on Karma Yoga in session 10. So my question was, I know you have these topics which are more related to counseling, but why have you strung out the Gita in various sessions, and why haven't you, given us a kind of an immersion of that in one place? So that's one question. And the other that I put to you directly, Gauravji, and you answered, but I just thought I'll repeat, because I have been doing meditation from childhood. So I used to do something called light meditation or Jyoti meditation. And then I learned the Mahesh Yogi, the transcendental meditation many years ago, but didn't practice. Then I learned the Brahma Kumari meditation, which I kind of identify with the Jyoti meditation that I do. Now, sometimes I go and do chakra meditation. So, I mean, I believe in the positive things that meditation can do. But I had a question, someone from the group can also answer. Do you, I mean, it's good, we can do any meditation, better that than not doing at all. But is one better than the other? And then the second was, because you're giving us so many references and books to read, and which is all very good, could we put something about the research that's being conducted on meditation into this session at some point? Because I had read in the local paper many years ago, I wanted to interview that person for my radio. He was a student who was anti-meditation, but then to prove the theory that meditation doesn't work, he went and did some study and then found meditation was very good. So he changed this hypothesis. So I'm sure there are many people who have done such studies. Brahma Kumaris sometimes present this, what meditation did to blood pressure and sugar and so on. They have even doctors on their team. So would HCI be able to provide a list of such kind of studies for our reading as well? So I'll stop there. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Namaste.
Sure. Thank you, Jayantiji. So just to follow back on Jayantji's question on multiple meditation techniques, there are innumerable meditation techniques. So Baba Gorakhnath, of course, very famously made hundreds of these techniques that he taught. And of course, in the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, there are 112 techniques. There is no shortage of techniques for meditation in the Hindu system overall. And they all use similar principles. They just emphasize different methods of reaching essentially the same end goal. One more question that had come up that I'll quickly answer here: the difference between dhyana and mindfulness. Mindfulness is a construct of the Western mind, and it emphasizes focus, and it oftentimes mixes it with some sort of you keep repeating some stuff to yourself and so on. So attention itself is being wielded and directed at some object, and that's how the Vipassana people who, Western academics who did Vipassana and then wanted to rebrand it and create a Western version of it by removing everything else from Buddhism. So the way to think about it is there's the broad spectrum of practices that's Hinduism, that we think of as Hinduism broadly. Subset of that for export, as Alan Watts Scott calls it, is Buddhism. And they took a subset of that and called it mindfulness. Now, the difference between mindfulness and dhyana in the Patanjali system is very subtle, but it's very distinct. In mindfulness, you focus your attention, right, on something, whether it's your breath or your walk or your mantra or whatever, right? The objective of the Patanjali system, the Ashtanga system, that is dharana. When you hold your attention on something, it's dharana. Beyond that is dhyana. Beyond that is samadhi, right? And dhyana and samadhi are very distinctly different from mindfulness. So dhyana itself, which Zen meditation is, or Chan is in China, we call it dhyana. Dhyana is not focused attention. And a good illustrative example that's often given in the schools is if you have something of value that's in your house, maybe some jewelry sitting in a case somewhere in the house, then in the night, when you hear things going bump in the night, your attention immediately goes to that particular spot because that's where your jewelry is. You want to make sure no one is there. But the thief in the night, the owner's mind goes to the object. The thief, on the other hand, has to make sure he doesn't actually knock anything off. He doesn't make any noise. So he has to be aware of everything, right? Not a specific thing, but everything in general. And so the thief's attention is dhyana. The owner's attention is dharana. Mindfulness is the owner's attention. You focus on a particular thing. Focusing is a step preceding the thief's attention, which is being able to be aware of everything itself, awareness itself. There are two Ushajis in this call, so I will use their name in vain, which is early morning. When the early morning before the sun rises, it's still glowing, and there is light everywhere. That glow of consciousness is illuminating everything without anything being sharply touched by our consciousness. That is dhyana. When you get to samadhi, you're in both states simultaneously. You're able to focus on an object and there is diffuse attention all around, and you are at once simultaneously conscious of your own being and your inseparability from all of creation. And so that's the state of samadhi. So our system of yoga goes far beyond just ordinary mindfulness. Now, the other difference between mindfulness and dhyana is that though in the Vedanta system, it's generally deity free, dhyana is generally taught without any sense of God. But in the broader Hindu tradition, deity is invoked and God resides in our heart. And mindfulness is godless because, of course, Western academics are trying to distill out the practice by tearing its heart out and throwing it away. That's what they've done. So mindfulness tends to not have sweetness in it. It's very dry. And as an experience, when you go to a mindfulness teacher, you should see if they're calm for sure, but do they radiate that sense of calmness and peace outside, or are they simply mechanically going through the motions of this practice? And the sweetness that comes from deity being invoked into the heart is not something that can be followed in the mindfulness system. So I over-explained, but I hope you can understand the difference. I can explain a little bit more if you want, but I think this is technical enough. Anything more gets more technical. This session will be recorded, Nirupamaji. So I hope I've been able to explain that mindfulness is great. It's good buzzwordy. You should by all means use it, but it's a very preliminary step it's right after breath control, right? Pratyahara and dharana. So breath control you've done, pranayam you've done, right? So your mind is now calm. You've pulled your attention inward, and now you're being able to focus on the tip of your nose or the chanting of a sound. That's dharana. Then dhyana, then samadhi, then the final stages of samadhi. Lot of distance to travel in the Indian system.
Thank you, Gauravji.
Thank you, Gauravji.
Pradnya you had your hands raised a moment ago, but I don't see your hand anymore.
Yeah. If that is okay, I'll represent group 4 from ANZ cohort. Yeah, thank you. We discussed about all the videos, and I'll summarize it for us. Anayaji's video, it was fantastic explanation on religious and spiritual text. He also explained about Adi Shankaracharya's group Drushya Vivek, how observer observed, and it was truly, I mean, I'm not able to repeat it, but what we understood while we were listening, it was really very great. We also liked how he mentions the flag represents any country. Similarly, Murti represents God. So that was another explanation how we can discuss among ourselves or within our buddy system. It is very really good. Or sometimes kids ask this question, and it is in simple words we can explain this. Then moksha is the liberation, it is the ultimate goal. That was one thing. We have also heard there are many gods in Hinduism, but Brahman and how it is different from various gods, that explanation was really very good. We also liked his what he mentioned as the difference between spiritual texts and religious texts, and also difference between mythology and history. Ramayana and Mahabharata are history. We also discussed that there is one person, Nilesh Oak. He also has his YouTube videos on how Ramayana has actually happened around 2000 or some years ago. So that is what also we mentioned about. In addition to this, there was one video which I have come across. Maybe I'll share it in our Moodle discussion. It was about Hinduism has pluralism in gods. So it was not just multitude of gods. So that is one points to maybe we can discuss some other time. There was yes, so this difference between Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the structure of Vedas, all these prasthanatrayas, this was really very well explained. And I thought that when we thought that during our course, this is the course on Hinduism, and then many slides which Anayaji explained about, if we can take this during the first few lectures of this course, that would be helpful, because everyone is a bit scattered on exactly which text should we refer to, and that one pictorial representation, and it gives clear-cut ideas on how what are the different texts or spiritual and everything. He has very nicely explained, and so that is what was one suggestion from our side. Next one is we would like to talk about Gauravji's practice of Dhyana practice. That was I would say amazing session. I did follow Gauravji along the video, and it made the mind, I would say, really very calm. I think I would like to give this explanation, or rather just a simple thing. If the water is flowing and some sticks are coming in between, and that is those are obstructing the flow, so you just remove those sticks or small rocks, or you can say, and then the water is free flowing. So that is what I thought is similar to what Gauravji's Dhyana practice actually gave that experience to me. So, and again, giving good positive energy to do it every day, and how we can do it as a everyday practice. Yes, that was a really good stress buster. And I remember one point which Gauravji had mentioned in last time. Why we are doing this is, it is like the medicine which you do it every day, which you take the kind of multivitamin you take daily dose, and which removes all the obstacles or in your life. So that is what I think it is good enough to follow that after Gauravji's example. I also liked from Gauravji's a few shlokas that lack of identification with the self, if you can do that, that gives you more joy. And there are few more things or few discussions that we can do around sense of self, which is ahankar. If I did it and I did, and how we can remove this I from whatever action has actually happened. The explanation of Triguna, rather Rajas and Tamas, and how it is actually changing our thinking because of interfere of technology in our everyday life, that is really something which we can think about, and we can minimize the use of technology. That was a good thing. Another thing was also how we can control anger, and we can use it as a tool, especially when we are working moms and we have kids. They come to us and we are trying to explain them something. How we can use exactly this principle of we can use the anger as a tool without anger touching us, but at the same time we can utilize it in a positive way. So yes, that was really good thing. And yes, there were many more, but these are the prima facie. I could pick them up along with my other buddies in our group. And yes, the pictorial representation was also good, but I like we learn the subject when someone is actually teaching and through examples, and hence it took more I did not just listen it once or even all my buddies in our group. We had to listen to the videos multiple times, and then we could get something. Yes, this is what I have understood, and this is what we can share. Yes, so that is all we wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradnaji. Thank you. I invite the next group, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Raj Gopal. I'm not too sure if you can hear me.
Yes, we can, sir. Now we can't, sir.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I represent the group from South Africa. There's just two of us. And we found this session very, very helpful. It was also quite intense. And we thought also that there was a lot of connection between the scriptures and today's life. And we found a lot of important relevance to today's life from what the scriptures were saying. The interpretation of the scriptures in that line, I think, is very remarkable because quite a lot of the scriptures in other areas seem to only relate to what happened at the time. And there are, there's a whole lot of parables and there's a whole lot of stories that would appear to be disconnected to our lives today. And I think that that is the most important reason, or one of the reasons why the youth may feel frustrated with the actual disconnect. Okay, quite a lot of work has gone into this, judging from how it was presented, to look at the, what do you call this, to look at the importance of the religious scripts to what is happening now. I'm not going to go into the detail because quite a lot of detail has gone in terms of the explanation. I just want to say what impact that it had on us. The impact was that the triangle between the that shows in the three corners, the self, the environment, and God, I thought was what sums it all. And the understanding of each one is very important, but the main thing is the understanding of the self. Because in the understanding of the self, one is able to move forward, because you can only change the self. You can't transform the other two parts. So if you want to get closer to whatever it is that you want in terms of peace, so moksha and so forth, it is the transformation of yourself. And that's what it told me, even in terms of the meditation and so forth. And I also found it quite, how shall I put it, relevant, the connection between the main cause of our problems, which is loneliness, and the scriptures. And the main cause, and I agree, is disconnect. Disconnect in a meaningful way, not in just understanding from a third person level about God and about our fellow beings, but a connection, a deep connection. And I think that is quite an important thing that we can use for our own development, to be efficient counselors. Not that we're going to spread this kind of detail to the person you're counseling, because they may not be in a position to receive it, but in your own understanding, in your own creating patience in ourselves. Finally, I would like to thank Gauravji in the intense way that he presents the Gita, and also picking up from there, you can make out that he understands it like the back of his hand, and he spent a lot of time on it. I want to thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. So we are at basically an hour and 10 minutes into the session. So we have around 50 minutes left for Gauravji to answer all the questions. If any remaining groups would like to participate, please, this is the time. If not, then Gauravji would use the rest of the time to elaborate on the questions which were asked to him.
Yeah. Thank you, Sanjayji. So evidently this came up several times today as feedback, which is the session is titled Bhagavad Gita for Loneliness and Disputes. And the question is, how are we covering that through the three different things that we did? And how are we addressing the disease of our times, the disease du jour, as they say, is loneliness. And the loneliness is a symptom of a deeper underlying problem. The results of loneliness are the increase in lifestyle diseases, are the increases, if you look at 70 to 80% of all the diseases, disease load in the Western world, I've read, come from lifestyle diseases. Those lifestyle diseases are exacerbated by this epidemic rise of loneliness, not merely because of COVID, but even preceding it. So what explains that? And what explains the rise in strife? And strife is a factor of all creation. Of course, there's always conflict. The Bhagavad Gita is set in the context of a conflict. So it's not fair to say that conflict is a modern phenomenon. But what explains this higher conflict that seems to be around in everyday interactions? So, countries go to war, but people didn't go to war. Families, WhatsApp groups, your college groups, we're not going to war with each other with this intensity as they are now. And the question is, what explains all that, right? And what is the cure for that? I work in the technology business. My business is technology, and I have to say that this is a problem created by technology. And in fact, this is a shameless plug. I'm not asking you to buy this book. I'm just saying that I actually have a book coming out on this exact subject. In fact, in June, Oxford University Press is publishing it. It's called Global Business. It's a series of books. I've only written this one particular book, In the Age of Destruction and Distraction. This, by the way, of course, it's a pun. It's a pun, obviously, because I like puns, and it's a pun on Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel, and destruction and distraction essentially summarizes that problem. What is the problem? Everything, I went to school 2.5 decades ago, right? To college and postgrad. So everything I was taught, everything I knew about the world is being destroyed utterly. How governments run, how economies run, how societies run, everything that we were taught is being destroyed right before our eyes. So there's nothing outside the world, outside of us, that seems to be stable, that seems to be that you can take it to the bank. So you would look for relief inside, right? But here's the problem. Inside, also there is utter chaos because we are distracted. Why are we distracted? I'm just going to come back. Why are we distracted? We are distracted because in the Puranic texts, there are these asurs, right? Bhasmasur and Mahishasur and so on. This Tekasur is really good at distracting us. You see, technology, and I talk about it in the book, but technology is an essential tool for us, but that tool is getting really good. You see, previously it used to do physical stuff, right? Even before that, we've outsourced our cooking. I don't want to get into too much research, but the point is, technology is a help. We are essentially biotech hybrids ourselves. We cannot survive without technology as a species. Monkeys can, apes can, humans cannot survive without technology, because if we didn't have fire, we wouldn't cook food, and you can't eat raw food because our stomachs are not designed. Our alimentary canal is not designed for raw food. It's designed for cooked food, because our brains take all the extra capacity, 20% extra glucose that the stomach was using for digestion is being used in the brain. The point I'm coming to is, as a species, we are already a technology biology hybrid, right? So I'm not saying technology is bad. It's a great tool, and we have co-evolved with it. The problem is that technology evolution is going this fast. Human evolution is going this fast. So now we've come to a place where technology is evolving every month, every quarter, every week, and we are not evolving as a species, certainly not in our lifetimes. So that is where the problem is, that we now have to respond to technology. Previously, it was lifting weights for us, so we didn't need to lift weights. Then it was doing computation for us, so we didn't have to do computation. Now it's in our head. It's now reading our attention and using our mind space to serve ads, right? And it's become really good at figuring out how to keep us engaged. How? It turns out the more basic instincts are easier to engage, right? Because, it's more basic, it's lesser, you're not able to control it with our brain. What that means is completely reptilian. So sex, fear, anger, right? Those are the instincts that it's now harnessing. So what's happening now is we have trained ourselves. Our bodies and our minds and our lifestyles have trained ourselves to continuous distraction. We're never bored, right? To continuous disconnection. We don't know how we're feeling until we find out about it on the internet, right? people say they can go without food for so many days, sex for so many days, but from their phone, maybe half an hour maximum, right? So what's happening is it has become an essential part of our being because technology, Tekasur, is really good at this. How are we going to come out of this is the problem. Why are we feeling lonely? Now I come to the subject at hand. Why should we deal with loneliness and disputes? And what does the Gita have to say about it? What is the essential understanding of, in Vedanta in general, of the universe itself, right? Of all creation. This separation that we are seeing between you and me is very nominal, marginal even, right? It does not actually mean anything. It means everything to us in the way we are conditioned to see the world, right? We see ourselves separated from each other. We see each other and our interests as being different and distinct. But if you understand the universe in a more expansive perspective, and that's why the word Brahman is used. Brah means to expand. Brahman is that which expands. And so the English word universe would loosely correlate to the word Brahman, though Brahman is bigger. But essentially, if we look at the way we are perceiving the world right now, we see ourselves as separate from the universe, right? And our understanding of our inner state is now broken because what we could understand directly, how are you feeling? We should be able to understand directly. Our mind does not have the capacity to access that information anymore because we are always distracted, always busy, always bored, always trained to be angry, trained to be fearful, trained to be always outraged by all the technology. Not because technology inherently is bad, but because the technology that is being used to harness our attention, goes all the way down to the most basic instincts, right? It doesn't make us love our fellow human being. It doesn't make us more intelligent anymore. It makes us angry. It makes us distracted. It makes us fearful. And that state of being, as a yogi, I feel that it constricts our heart. This here, right here, the heart chakra, narrow, fragile, and brittle, which means that we are now even more fragile, even more disconnected, not only from each other, but from ourselves. So we come to the subject at hand, loneliness. Loneliness is not a factor of how many people you're surrounded by. Loneliness is a factor of how you feel the connection to others and to the universe at large. And where you feel that connection is not here, but here in the heart, right? The head does not feel any connection. The head only computes. The heart feels that connection. But have you chanted Mahamantra lately? Have you gone to Kirtan lately? Have you prayed to God lately? Have you felt that bliss that comes from opening your heart? If you have not, then you don't know the first thing about connection because we are separated from ourselves, our own innermost being. What is our innermost being? Satchidananda. Our innermost core state is that of Ananda, right? So we should not have to rely on anything else, on anybody else. Our natural state is Ananda. But we know nothing about our natural state. We know nothing about the silence. We sit in our heads and our heads are crowded and filled with thoughts. Exactly the situation Arjun finds himself in the end of chapter 1, which is his head is filled with thoughts, confusing, conflicting, and he has basically come to the conclusion that he need not act. So how are we going to fix this loneliness? This loneliness comes from this lack of connection to ourselves now, not just the lack of connection to other people. Once we connect to our heart and we learn the technology for opening our heart, again, as it is natural, then we will feel the connection. We will feel the oneness that is essential to all of us. When Vedanta teaches Advaita, what does Advaita mean? That there are not two. Not two what? Not two gods? No, not two anything. There are no two things, it's just one, right? What is that one? You and I are not separate, right? You and I are essentially the same creation. I'm experiencing through one particular angle, and you're experiencing through another particular angle, but it's the same underlying experience. The light of consciousness that illuminates my being also illuminates your being, also illuminates this entire creation, right? But once we get to that state through meditation, through bhakti, through yoga, that state of yoga is, in that state of yoga, when you are one with yourself and you're one with everything in the universe, where is the other? There's no space for another, right? As Kabir Das ji said, Prem gali ati sankari tame do na samay. The path of love is very narrow. Two cannot survive there. What he means is not that you can only love one person, but that when you go through that path of love, where is the other? Either you're there or others are there, or I mean, you can't both be there. You're either, it's all me, or it's all you, it's all creation or God, right? To get to that state, when you're in that state, you're in a state of continuous bliss. That is the state you can reach through action, karma yoga. When you're engaged in selfless action, not for yourself, but you're doing it because you love doing it, you're good at this thing, you have these skills, then time passes, right? Stuff happens, energy flows through you. You do it because you enjoy it. Yourself has disappeared in that being, in that moment of karma yoga. You have surrendered yourself individually. You're just letting the energy flow through you. That's karma yoga. No two exist in that state. Only the creator flowing through this being, right? Bhakti yoga is the same thing. Jnana yoga is the same thing, because you can arrive at it through logic, through reasoning. This is not me, this is not me, this is not me. Eventually, when you do enough not me, you realize there's not much me anywhere. There's no me to speak of. I'm coming to the other question that was being raised, which is who am I, and the jiva and the moksha, right? It's very easy to get caught into distinctions. It's the easiest trap to get into, because you're using your mind. To say, I'm a jiva, then who am I? The answer is I'm a jiva, I must be an atman, and then it transfers to another body. Then what is moksha? All of those questions, the way to answer those questions is not through intellectual mentation. Why? Because you try to answer it, you'll get another answer. That answer will pose another question. You try to answer that question, it'll pose another question. As this famous example went, it turtles all the way down. Right? This world is resting on a turtle, that turtle is resting on another turtle, and that turtle is on another turtle, and it's turtles all the way down. You cannot answer these questions through more answers. The only way to answer this question is to experience directly. And that experiencing of directly is available to each one of us. There are moments when I have taken classes, even preparing for this class, I reviewed the lecture and I don't remember anything from that lecture. I'm hearing it exactly the way you're hearing it. I'm saying, oh, this is a good point. And I'm seeing that this looks like me. It must be something I said. I have no memory of it. Those ideas, those concepts, those examples, those are not examples that I ever use. They're not in my mind. They have flown through me, but I don't know who they belong to. Right? So I can't take credit for those classes. I can't be happy that I gave those classes, because I didn't. My job is to get out of the way and let the classes flow. And that experience is available to every one of us. But it requires engagement. The problem that we are in right now is that we have learned to be passive consumers. We have trained ourselves into becoming passive consumers of content. But creation, the Kriya Shakti, right? The ability to create, the ability to act is what truly brings us alive. Consuming, does not actually make us alive, does not get us the engagement, or does not get us the amount of joy that we want to experience. So to close the thing on loneliness and disputes, loneliness is a state of the heart. And the cure for loneliness is not to meet more and more people or to consume more and more, right? The teaching of Vedanta always is, if you go to Vivek Chudamani, right? The teaching of Vedanta in general is that the source of the self is also the source of satisfaction, and the source of the self is not outside, it's inside, right? You have to go within, right? But you also have to surrender. And all of those are important practices. So that's why loneliness, if you are connected to yourself, you'll feel this tingling in your heart. You will feel this joy in your heart. You will feel this connection to everything, because what else is there? Nothing else is there. Because nothing else is there, what is there to connect to? Everything that you need to connect to, you're already born with that connection. There is nothing that has been severed. But because we forget that our true nature, because we have accepted this theory that we exist, and this is Gaurav's ear, Gaurav's nose, Gaurav's eyes, Gaurav's lips, then this must be Gaurav. I infer that through induction. But is it true? Is it true that this is Gaurav? Is there an existing entity called Gaurav? It's hard to say. Once you think about it, there's no truth to this being, right? This individuality. It is very easy to get caught into semantics. It is very easy to get caught into reading more and more theory and getting more and more confused. The only way to answer this question is for the question to dissolve. And for the only way for that question to dissolve is for the questioner to dissolve. Right? You cannot answer this question through Vedanta, because eventually you're going to answer one question with another answer, another answer, another answer, turtles all the way down. If you sit quietly, if you meditate or you chant, or you act in service, the answer automatically appears. There is no other. Because also there is no me, individuality. What is this individuality? We nominally accept that there is a self because practically we have to live, we have to walk, we have to eat. But in reality, there's no individuality as such. There's no lasting truth to this individuality. So I know I covered a lot of different topics. I may have confused you. Prachiji, your hand is up, so I'll probably.
Yes, thank you, Gauravji. Thank you so much. Gauravji, when you were talking about Advaita philosophy or the being one, I remember reading a shlok from the Ramayana. I didn't read the Ramayana, but I read it as a reference somewhere. And when the Lord Rama actually asks Hanuman, and he says, "Who are you, Hanuman?" And Hanuman, known to be a Vipra, as a very learned, very intellectual person, he gives a very smart answer to Lord Rama. He says, "Deha buddhya tu dasoham." If you look at my deha, my body, I'm your servant. Jiva buddhya twadamshakaha. If you look at the jiva, I'm the fraction of you, a tiny fraction of you. And then he says, Atma buddhya tvamevaham. So if you look at the Atma, you and me are the same. So that's what I think you were exactly talking about, you and me being the same, So when we're talking about like Gaurav's ears and nose, so if this is my ear, my nose, if my ear is chopped off, that doesn't mean Prachi dies. Like Prachi is still there, So things they're just there, but they are not me. So this is a beautiful shlok that Hanuman explains, Deha buddhya tu dasoham, jiva buddhya twadamshakaha, atma buddhya tvamevaham, iti me nischita matihi. He says, this is what I firmly believe, So that's very relevant to what we are doing, what we are talking about right now. That's all I wanted to share with everyone.
Beautiful, Prachi. That is wonderful, and it's a very, very precise, much sharper answer than what I gave. Much better, of course. All right. So I'm moving down the list. So I hope I've covered adequately the loneliness and disputes part. When the other exists, disputes exist because there is an otherization. Oh, this fellow is like that. But when you realize, that is also God, right? I'm also, the same creator is animating that self and this self. So it can't be that, what difference can I have with this other person, right? It's my one finger in this hand and one finger in this hand are arguing. Well, it's still me, right? So this dispute exists because we have this sense of identifying with the self. But then, like Patiji was saying, dehabhatya, right? This body identification. But as we begin to settle into the self, then we will realize that there is no room for disputes. Now, this is not to say that you don't need to act. That is the interesting takeaway from the Gita itself, right? That if Bhagavan Shri Krishna was just going to say, no, we're all the same, yaar, it's okay, don't worry, there's no need to fight, you can chill. That's not what he said, right? Because each of us has a role to play. Each of us has rights, rules, and responsibilities and duties, and we have to enact our role, right? We have to do justice to our reason and our connections to each other. You know, the interesting thing, I gave a talk on the Ramayana, in fact, earlier this week. So I did a little more research, and it was dramatic that what is the Ramayana really about? It's really about, you know, Sri Ram having to make the hardest choices. All of those choices were against his individual interest at all times. But why we hold him so dear is that he makes those choices, and he makes them even while he's crying, even while he's regretting making those choices, he will still make them. And that's why we call him Maryada Purushottam Ram, right? That's why he's so dear to us, that he makes these choices because that's what his role requires. His father's made a commitment, he's going to have to fulfill it, right? He's a king, and, you know, for social order, this is what he needs to do. He'll do it. Even if he regrets doing it, he will do it. That's what makes him special. That's why these stories are special to us, because they tell us something about character. So we are here, we have, you know, roles to play, responsibilities to deliver, and that requires us to engage in the world. It does not require us to withdraw from the world, right? The teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is not, it's okay to, you know, to leave and go. No, the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is you have to engage. You have to do what you need to do. And so, so there will be disputes, but you have to do what you need to do, because that's how things work. I mean, this is a longer thing, not even the subject of today's talk, but when you think about the other person as an enemy, framing matters. If you think of the other person as an enemy, then you think that you should get rid of the enemy. But you can reframe everything. The other person may be trying to get the best out of you. I'll give you a couple of examples. The sheep are being tended to by the sheepdog, right? Am I frozen? My camera is frozen. All right, the sheep are being tended to by the sheepdog. The sheepdog's job is to secure the sheep. The sheep might think he's an enemy, but he's a friend, right? So, so challenges presented to us allow us to rise above the challenges. They build our character. They sharpen, shape our character. So the other does not need to be seen as an enemy, but as an essential part of the practice of sharpening one's own personality. And so that's the thing on disputes. All right. All right. Okay, so now I'll come to some more comments. So the bell in the meditation is a classic problem. If you sit for meditation, you don't need the bell. But if you don't sit for meditation, the bell is a good reminder to come back. And so for early sittings, for early classes, anyone teaches, whenever I do early sittings, I'm always using the bell as a way of just bringing everyone back. Right? All right. So it's a necessary evil in that sense. So I apologize for that. Another question posed was how to lose identity or separate identity from ourselves in meditation. We do that naturally all the time. There are 4 states of being, right? Waking, sleeping, dreaming, and the 4th state. And in the 4th state, which we pass through all the time, we are not aware of being ourselves. We are not aware of being separate from others. And we pass through it. When we sleep, for example, we We sometimes have dreams, but the deepest sleep is dreamless. When we wake up, we say we've had a good sleep. But who was there to say there was a good sleep? You weren't there. You lost any sense of self. But even when waking, we can go through this and get to the fourth state. It's called Turiya, right? And in meditation, through meditation, you can get to the Turiya state, at which point there's nothing. You just consciousness exists. Nothing else exists. It's fleeting, but happens and comes and goes. And with practice, you get to stay in that state for longer. And so states of meditation, you can go in and come back. You can go in and stay and come back at will. You can go in and never have to come back. So all those states can exist. The deeper your practice is, the more lifetimes of practice you have, the easier it gets. Or your guru's blessings. Who knows? Okay. There's a disagreement. I didn't understand what the disagreement was on God has no form. So God, from which form and time comes? Space and time, emergence from something, some place, some being. And that must be outside of space and time. I don't think there's any disagreement about it. Whether God himself has a shape or not is a completely moot point. In the Hindu system, we have imaginations of deity. Whether they present themselves physically or through special eyes is often not mentioned, right? And so the imaginations doesn't mean they're imaginary. It means that we're using a way of visualizing to see the deity. So when we see the deity, when we see Vishnu with his four hands and with the arms that he's holding, that visualization we have received from those that have seen. And that's the visualization we recreate for ourselves, because that's what we have received from our gurus and their gurus and going all the way back. But do we see a physical manifestation? It's hard to say. I've certainly not been lucky enough, but I've been told that Muchkund ji did see him in that avatar. So it is possible. I'm sure that's what it is told. But does God appear in physical avatar? All of us are manifestations of the same being. So it is. I think it's just disingenuous to say that whatever divinity exists does not have form, because all of form comes out of that divinity. So it's not correct to say God cannot have a form. All of us are manifestations of that divinity. So of course we have form. God must be able to have form as well if that's how God wants to appear. There's no conflict in that. Rita ji, your hand is up, and another hand, I think Mataji, your hand was up as well, right? Mataji. Rita ji, why don't you go ahead?
Something is a comment about the God's formation. There was one stories I heard. There was one priest. He was doing lots of seva to the God. And one time it was too much rain and everything was like sinking in the whole town and everything. Everybody was going out. And he says, no, I'm doing all the puja to the God, so God is going to come in front of me. And then when the people ask in the beginning, they says, okay, we are leaving, so can you come? He says, no, God is going to come and save me. Second time, the water was more. It was coming all the way like second floor. And some people, they came and they asked, now, can you just leave the Pujariji? It's not worth staying here. And he says, no, God is going to come and save me. And then third, the helicopter, it was like on the tip of the temple. Now he went there. And helicopter guy came and they says, okay, we are throwing this rope and just climb. He says, no, God is going to come and help me. And then finally he dies. And he says, how come you did not help me? And God is telling him that all the people were asking, that was me. Second time is also like somebody asking, that's me, but you did not see me. So the bottom line is, try to look at the God in you, and in an unexpected way, when something you get the help It's nothing but the God. So when you try to look at with your own inside vision, you will find the God everywhere, and you can see the God.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rita. I myself have had the experiences. Again, this is not the time or place to discuss it, but it's been quite wonderful. Matsadevi Mataji, please.
Hari Krishna, namaste everyone. I just thought of adding a couple of points. You tell you because I thought of telling something, but you explained everything very clearly, so there is not much to tell. But the formless, when they say formless, because God hasn't got form just like our material body. His form is always transcendental. So whether he come as a fish or he come as a half lion, half human, or any form, or he has come as a baby or a child, 7-year-old child, he has all the potency like Bhagavan. So when he's a baby, also he can kill a demon. When he's a child, also he can lift a Govardhan hill in his little hand. So whatever the form he comes, some people say, oh, Krishna also came as a child and born as a child and died as us. So why we have to listen to him? But whenever he comes, he has all his potency. And he said that in chapter 4 that I came and I explained everything to Sun God. And Arjuna was asking, you are like my age, you are my cousin. How did you explain to him? He said, millions or billions of years we get birth, you and I, but you forget I remember everything. That means God has all the power in him, no matter what form he takes. That's the difference. And formless, when they say formless, that is not our material form. He has he can look like material form, but he has all the potency, everything. He never lose anything. But sometimes he doesn't display all the forms when he takes as a Buddha, or when he come as fish, or when he come as Narasimha. He doesn't have all the potency, because it's depending on, like when father is a police, he works as a police. He doesn't work as a father. When he is a president or something like that, father works as a president. So Krishna also, when he is a soldier, when he is different, he has different displays different potency per capacity, but he displays all the capacity when he came as Krishna. That's the difference. Thank you for
thank you.
Thank you so
thank you,
much.
Mataji. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. There was another. Okay, I think I've covered most of the questions. There was a comment on Asha Pasha, which I really appreciate that entire section on Asha Pasha, because it truly describes our current state of being, where Asha means hope, and Pasha means the noose, or something that's gripping you tightly. So the web of hope is a classic modern day problem, where because we want something, we want, if I get this, then this will happen, and then that will happen, and then maybe this other thing will also happen. So this web of hope holds us down. And a lot of times the CHT problem that we're going to face is people that have been caught in this web of hope and are now hopeless, in the sense that it has either not turned out to be the way they hoped it would, and they feel that there is no need to hope, or that they're feeling negative as a result. But the interesting thing in the Gita that is quite counterintuitive is that you have to not have any hope, hopelessness as a positive state of being, right? And it's hard to explain that in English, because it is not that you're hopeless in the English sense. It is that you're not relying on hope as a crutch. I hope this will happen, and then I hope that will happen. You don't do that. You simply say, whatever happens will happen. I will do what I need to do. And that firmness gives a lot more clarity. And as someone who thinks about energy a lot, I find this a lot more interesting than being caught in this web of hope. Because in the web of hope, we are relying, our agency is outsourced to other people. This person needs to do this, this person needs to do that, this will happen, eventually something will happen, some good will happen to me. My agency has been outsourced to other people. But when I'm not hoping, then my agency lies with me. I'm responsible for my actions. And whatever happens is what happens, right? It doesn't matter to me how it turns out, because there are 5 things that are needed for an action to result into fruits. I don't need to worry about the fruits. I need to engage in my action and let natural things take their own course. And so that's a very hard thing to cultivate, but it releases a lot of energy. And that release of energy brings with it a lot of joy, a lot of satisfaction, because you're now able to move about the world with a lot more enthusiasm, right? Not fearful that your very carefully constructed web of hope may be destroyed or anything. You're no longer bound by that, right? And so because you're not held back, you can act with far more energy. So Asha Pash, I find that to be a very amazing concept. It doesn't get the amount of press that it should. But I feel that all of us are stuck in Asha Pash. And it's important for us to recognize that hopelessness can be a very positive state of being. When you say, yeah, this thing is hopeless, that sounds like a negative thing. But to not rely on hope as a factor releases a tremendous amount of energy and clarity. Mataji, your hand is up, please.
Yeah, thank you again. One more point I forgot to tell, that when Rita ji said that that God is going to come and save, it's not his order supply. Sometimes we have expectation. He's not going to do everything but we expect. He will do in the way that he planned, because we can desire. We have to see whether we deserve it or not. So it's not always what we desire he's going to do. He will do in his own way. So whatever he's doing is the best. So he's not an order supplier to do everything but we expect him to do. Thank you.
Yeah. God has become like Amazon, right? We order and things will be delivered in 1 day or 2 days. So I like the biryani example, Arviji. All right. Other questions, I'm just going down the list. The importance of Purana stories. As I age, I find that the Purana stories are even more and more important to relate, because those are set in a very important manner. They're not simply stories, right? They're stories that are almost always revealing a new conversation that we would not ordinarily have. You look at Yaksha Prashna. A Yaksha is asking, the Pandavas questions, and that dialogue itself can be so instructive. Now, how in life are you going to ever talk to a crane next to a lake? You and I are not going to talk to a crane, right? But that conversation brings with it a new insight. But even more importantly, it's hard to forget. And so the reason Hinduism exists even now is because we have these tremendous stories, and stories travel over time. Facts don't travel over time. Stories do. And so Purana stories are very important to learn. They're fun, of course, they're memorable, and the amount of learning that you can get out of those is amazing. Of course, when I talk, I give a lot of like pop psychology, pop culture examples. I give movie examples. I'm trying to make the point. So whatever comes to my head, I will say. But having a good repertoire of Purana stories, I think is irreplaceable. And as a CHT, the more stories you have, Bruce G, who you probably have, you've seen, right? Bruce G will tell you Jewish people have a tremendous storytelling culture and tremendous ability to tell, because they've seen a lot of grief, right? So generationally, over thousands of generations. So they have amazing stories that they remember and they can tell. And they put you into a place where you understand far more than words would ever explain. So I think everyone should investigate Purana stories. All right, I think amazingly all the notes I took, I have gotten through. So if there are more questions now, we will take them up. I hope I've addressed your question on loneliness and disputes, which was the primary thing that came up. On meditation itself, if you have questions or feedback, I'd be happy to take it. Meditation practices are myriad and very diverse. I can talk to you about a wide enough range because of my experiences. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Gauraji, there was rather a query which was asked about Hindu gods and goddesses and role of deities and so on, and question with regards to any elaboration can be done in the beginning of the, the academic year, so to speak.
Yeah.
Would you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, that. And I also want to cover, Jayanti ji had another point, which I obviously casually just steamrolled over, which was why have we strewn about the Hindu lectures all through the course? Why didn't we group them all together? We did that for fun. We did that because if you do it all at once, then you consume a lot at one go and then it's gone, right? We wanted to distribute it so that you consume it and you every time, swadu swadu pade pade, right? You get taste every time you go along. Otherwise, if you eat a lot of it at once, then it's gone. You don't get the taste anymore, right? So we wanted to distribute all the classes in a way that you keep getting the taste every time. It's just program design philosophy that we applied. Now, Sanjay, you had posed a question. Sorry, what was the thing again? I forgot, of course.
With regards to inclusion of information with regards
on deities, yes, okay, on deities. So the Hindus, religion is a very broad spectrum religion, and because of that, sampradaya differences are immense. And we had decided that we are not really teaching any specific sampradaya here, right? We're teaching essentially the core. And so we don't want to get into specific deities because each of us come from families, our own sampradayas. We know our deities, right? HCR does not, we can't improve on what your parents would have told you, right? At least that's what we felt. So we didn't want to over-invest into that. Not because I totally, you can see behind me, I believe in deity worship, absolutely. But we didn't feel that it's our place to introduce that into this program because your sampradaya is your sampradaya. Otherwise, we limit ourselves to either the Vaishnavas or the Shaktas and so on. We didn't want to get bogged down into one particular sampradaya. So we stayed out of deity description. If you're feeling strongly about it, we can think about it. But that's been our theory for the last 4 years, that for what we're doing as counselors of Hindu tradition, this common knowledge is good. We can add to it our own favorite deity. If you want to ask questions on deities themselves, I'm happy to talk through that. I teach at the Chaplaincy Institute. I teach 4-hour Hinduism classes, and naturally they're always very curious about deities and their form and everything. So I talk a lot about it. We have three more minutes. So deities play a very important role in the Hindu tradition, and the transmission of the Hindu tradition has been continuous because of our insistence on deity worship. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, for example, in the Bhakti Yoga chapter, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says that, look, I like these abstract philosophers as much as those who pray to me, right? I like them both. But this school of abstract philosophy, if someone is wearing a t-shirt that says, I love the universe, well, good for you, my friend, but you can't really love the universe because humans are not designed for that, right? Our brains can't process that. Our hearts can't process that. We just don't get the same juices flowing from abstractions, right? And so deity worship is very core to Hindu tradition. You could abstract it out, but those schools will forever remain dry. You see what happened to Buddhism, right? Buddhism said, I don't really, have whether there is deities or not, or whether there's a being or not, none of this is relevant. The problem is there's suffering, there's cure for suffering, here's the cure, go, right? It started with that, and now there are, Buddha. The Buddha in Hindi is Buddha, right? Statue itself, the name for it, the Hindi word for statue is Buddha, right? Why did the Buddhists eventually get into statues, right? Into idols? Because they also realized that until you get the spirit of surrender, through this deity worship, you can't really get the full value of that tradition. So now they have Avalokiteshvara, they have this goddess, that god, they have a whole pantheon. They recreated it because of necessity. It's very important. So dry philosophy is great. It doesn't transmit. Everyday people, uneducated people will still feel that love of God, feel that connection to God through this process, including the Abrahamic schools. And I'm beginning to end my diatribe because otherwise I'll keep going on forever. I'm sorry. Abrahamic schools have a problem with idol worship, which is why it's always said with quotes, idol worship. No, we have murtis, right? What is their problem? Their problem is they're trying to replace a previous god, and they said they have images of this god. This is an imageless god. Because if you have, they were trying to, it was a political choice to unite tribes. One tribe has one deity, another tribe has another deity. You can't unite them and become a stronger force until you erase every one of those deities and say, oh no, there's no God, no form, no nothing. We won't ever get it. So iconoclast is a political choice, not a spiritual or religious choice. Hindus also, no Hindu will, no thinking Hindu will say, no, God exists only in this form. Everything is God. What is there to be confused about? There is only one. There's no confusion. But deity worship is still an important thing. I have one more example, but Mataji, you're saying something. I will listen to that.
Thank you for the opportunity. The thing is, deities, they say deities, all these Western people or anyone internationally, they give so much importance to the wedding ring because they see the wedding ring, why the responsibility behind the ring, marriage. And same thing, the flags, they bow down to their country flag. So they are not bowing down to the stick pole or the fabric. They are visualizing the country, the responsibility of the country behind the flag. Same the deities also, because we don't have the eyes, divine eyes to see the transcendental form of Krishna or the God. So what we see is we see the form behind the deity. So at least finally we might get purify our eyes and get the divine eyes to see the God in person. So the deity form is to come to the realization to see the God in person, getting the eye purified and things like that.
Thank
so
you.
It is great.
Rajgopalji.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
In the context of hope, what is your take on belief and faith?
Yeah, not something I do in the last -1 minute of the class. So belief, belief, faith, hope are English words. The underlying Sanskrit words that we use are slightly different, but the sense is this. One is you're hoping that tomorrow the sun will rise. Other is knowing that the sun will rise because the sun, it's sun's job to rise every day. It rises every day. I don't need to hope, I hope tomorrow morning the sun rises. No, the sun will rise every day. This is how it works, right? That unshaking, unwavering belief, right? That belief does not require proof because it comes from just experience. Just, this is how things work, right? That is belief. Now, hope is you're waiting for something weird to happen or some combination to happen. That is hope. And if it's natural to happen, it'll happen. If it's not natural, it won't happen. That's just, so understanding the true nature of things allows us to go beyond hope. A great example, in Sri Krishna's, stories, there are amazing examples. I know we're over time. He uses nature all the time to make miracles happen. Right? This whole story of running away from the battle, again, I won't get into it. He goes into a cave and this Kalyavana is chasing him into the cave. And in the cave, there's a person who's been sleeping for thousands of years. He wakes up and he burns this guy out. Done, right? Sri Krishna didn't have to kill anyone. This fellow is killed by completely natural causes, right? And that's the whole point of not relying on hope. Just knowing how things work, what is the true nature of things, allows us to go past hope and then have that confidence that this is how nature works. So I won't get into belief and faith and other things. One is faith is typically in the English language, it's used as somebody said it. So you might have faith. So this is a good quote, by the way. Mahalakshmi ji is put it, right? So this is the seeing is believing, and believing leads to seeing a problem. I'm not going to get into it again because we're over time. But in the Western construct, faith or dogma or creed is a thing that somebody tells you to believe and you believe it. For example, in Islam, the foundational principle is there is only one God and XYZ is the only messenger of God, right? It's something that you have to, it's an article of faith, quite literally, it is an article of faith, right? It's not verifiable, but you have to believe it because everything works from this axiomatic principle. It turns out, even in mathematics, I'm going to be done with, I can talk for too long on this stuff. Even in mathematics, it's found that there is no foundation to mathematics, that you still have to begin with belief. Mathematics is not self-evident. You have to believe in the number one. It turns out every other number you can derive. The whole system of mathematics you can derive, but you can't arrive at the number one, it turns. So anyway, there's a Gödel's incompleteness equation theorem, right? So it turns out, even in mathematics, you have to believe some things. And then when you believe it, it happens to appear, and then things happen from that point on. Too much to get into at this point. So I apologize. I titillated you with a little story and I didn't finish it. I apologize for that. All right. I think we're done. At least the time is done. So I have to tell you, I enjoy this class session more than giving a one-way session. It's more interactive, more fun, and I learn a lot. So I thank you for the opportunity to engage in this manner. All right. Closing prayers.
Gauravji, just one thing before. So if anybody wants to ask any specific questions or for me to forward it to Dr. Gauravji and all, so please, I'll be hanging around on this line for another 10-15 minutes or so. So that's all I wanted to share. But thank you, Gauravji, again. It was incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will just end with the closing prayer. So please sit comfortably. Sit in any comfortable posture. Sitting with the back straight, back, neck and head in a straight line. The back is straight but not stiff. The eyes are gently closed and there's a gentle smile on your face. A half moon smile that travels down all the way into your heart as you inhale. Feel the smile brighten up your heart. We're going to bring our palms together in Namaskar Mudra. At the heart center, we're going to chant Om once and then the closing prayer, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Exhale completely. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Inhale and chant. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take your arms behind you, grab your right wrist with your left hand, breathing in a deep breath. And exhale as you bend forward, a deep sense of surrender. Come back up, breathing in, release your hands, rub your palms together to generate some heat. And then gently cup your eyeballs with the warm palms to transfer that heat. Now blinking, open your eyes and pull your palms back like an open book. Namaskar. Thank you very much. Welcome back from the break, and I look forward to your homework responses. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice session.
Thank you, all the scholars. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. Namaste, everyone.
Any homework
Thank you.
issues, please reach out to Sanjay ji or me. Thank you very much. Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Namaste, Gauravji.
Sanjay ji?
Yes, Mahalakshmi.
Namaste. Gauravji had mentioned that he clicked a picture of his Bhagavad Gita verses. He said he'll post it somewhere. So if you can remind him We appreciate that.
Hey, he has already posted on the group.
Oh, really? Is
Yeah.
it
On the WhatsApp.
in the WhatsApp group, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sanjay ji and Usha ji is here. Yeah, Usha ji. Yeah, Usha ji is here. Usha ji, I talked to you last time also about my homework posting. Again, I have the same problem when I was trying to post my homework today, and I could not find it.
You cannot find what?
You know, when you click and you get the homework or posting things. So on and off, I don't know why I have that problem.
Can you switch to your computer and try and do it?
Yeah, let me try again.
Yeah,
because
sometimes you know, your phone, maybe the file is too big. I don't know. If you go to your computer and do it and you still have issues, then I can set up a Zoom call and walk you through it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, because all this homework I posted.
Okay.
But when I try to click on the homework and try to get these posting things, and I don't get anything.
I would have to see what issues you're having.
Okay.
Let me know. Go to your computer if you're not able to solve it.
Because I again turn off and off. I did that. So let me just make sure again today if I can do it or not. Since
okay. Yeah, otherwise definitely, you know, reach out and
I was like wondering why it's happening all the time, you know. All this, last 2 times it's having a problem.
Why don't we meet on Sunday?
Okay.
Okay, we'll fix the time and we look at what issues you're having, because I don't want to say something when I don't really know what's happening. Okay.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everybody. I hope.
You too. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Sanjay ji, this is Nirupama. Yeah.
Nirupama,
So Namaste. Yeah, Gaurav ji have posted two photos. I guess probably they are the same, but the second one is very blurry. So if you could just confirm, is he the thing he was reposting, or there are two things? I can't hear you. You are muted.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry. I'd kept my phone away. So give me 1 second to check my phone to look at the WhatsApp. So let me see the quality of images I got. So
first one is very clear. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The second one, I think it's the columns on the wall, right? So that the picture.
Yeah, but is it the same as first one? I think it is same, because even with the blurriness, it seems to me same, but if you could just confirm.
I will. And on my phone, when I adjusted for the shade, it is actually the same thing, but in a different shade of the photo.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No,
thanks for coordinating.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Sanjay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Ushaji, thank you. Appreciate and have a good night.
Yeah. Good night, Matsya. And Ritaji, thank you.
That's wonderful that you have a time and spending time for us.
Yes, thank you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Matsyaji. Saraswati ji, do you have any questions for either myself or Usha ji?
She must have forgotten. I think you should close the session, Sanjay ji.
Oh, okay, Ushaji.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too. I know it's kind of late for you, right?
It's like 11:15.
Ooh, you better get to bed.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Take care.
Thank you
Thank you
again.
very much.
Namaste.
Namaste.